Hello everybody, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also known by BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county ship. Is in the state of Tennessee. Today's date is early Sunday morning, April the 8th, 2018. Time 5:31 a.m. First, I thank all my fans, my support, people continue encourage me to support, continue to keep myself employed right here in this Memphis tri-state area. I'll continue further my education at Monroe College online. I'm pursuing my associate's degree, studying business administration with concentration mark. At this present time, I've taken a break from going to school, but in the very near future, I will be going back to school to continue to further my education. What I'm doing right now, I'm doing my Instagram. Hello everybody, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also known by BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county ship. Is in the state of Tennessee. Today's date is early Sunday morning, April the 8th, 2018. Time 5:32 a.m. First, I thank all my fans, my support, for your continued encouragement and support. At first, we want to always give thanks to God for all the blessings and the guidance that He provides us all with. And as you know, last Sunday, it was Easter Sunday, and also this week, as you know, was the 50th. April the 4th, 2018 was the 50th anniversary commemorating the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And here in the city of Memphis, as you know, the National Civil Rights Museum, Lorraine Hotel, was visited by many people from around the world, and to commemorate the 50th anniversary for the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Here in the city of Memphis. And so we want to always continue to try to the things that happened in the past, you understand, like they say, we learn from it, and all those who are listening and watching my Instagram video. I also make my YouTube video, my Periscope video, Facebook Live video. Watch those videos as well. now I'm doing my Periscope video. Hello everybody, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also known BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county sheriffs in the state of Tennessee. Today's date is early Sunday morning, April the 8th, 2018, time 5:40 a.m. And first say thank you to all my fans, my support, for your continued encouragement, support, and anti-gang. Now, this here is a list of just a few of the websites you can go to. They make free logo design, and like I said, these just a few to make anti-gang logos. Because we're going to continue to speak out, we're going to continue to complain about this gang stuff and this nonsense and gang nonsense, and it's going to lead to anti-gang demonstrations, anti-gang protests. And as we spoke about this anti-gang situation, it's not local, it's not regional, it's not even national, it's international, it's worldwide. It's a worldwide problem, and it's an issue that affects everybody. Everybody is affected by what they call a gang. And so, like I said, these are just a few of the websites. Anti-gang logos. Now what we're gonna do now, we're gonna get to the Bible right fast, and as we been talking about the man-made religious organizations, such as the Catholic Church, and we've been continuing to talk about how when we talk about the Catholic Church, we always get this unanimous agreement that the Catholic Church started on this date, and nobody really wants to disagree. Have a big conference, and like they gonna get on CNN and get on BBC and be on all the news media and all this, the Associated Press, that they have found some new evidence that the Catholic Church didn't start on this day. It started the day before. Just throw a little joke out there. But like I said, the Catholic Church started on this day, and people agree. And then you have what they call the Eastern Orthodox Church that separated, broke away from the Catholic Church. The Church of England broke away from the Catholic Church. As you know, the Church of Christ was started by some men, in the past. They try to claim that the Church of Christ, in the Bible, Matthew chapter 16. Yes, Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 19. Jesus Christ said that upon this rock I'll build my church. And so the Church of Christ claimed that his name is supposed to be on it, and it's the Church of Christ, you understand? And some more that broke away, the so-called Protestants that broke away from the Catholic Church. The Calvinists, the Lutherans, the Presbyterians, the Episcopalians, the Baptists, and their breakaway church, the church that broke away from the Baptist Church, the Church of God in Christ, and the Methodists, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Mormons, the Amish, the Mennonites. We can go on and on. Scientology, for example, all man-made religious organizations. And let's don't forget these groups. We don't want to leave these groups out. The Moorish Science Temple, the Nation of Islam, the 5% Nation, the Black Hebrew Israelites, the Rastafarians, all man-made religious organizations. Now, all these man-made religious organizations, they use the same scripture. Romans chapter 16, verse 16, salute one another with the holy kiss. The church with the suffix es, churches of Christ, salute you. And also another scripture, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 4, so that we ourselves glory in you in the church with the suffix es, churches of God, for your patience and faith in all your persecution and tribulation that ye endure. So, like I said, these man-made religious organizations. What time? Oh, okay. Watching the clock. I read why I was a little bit behind. I was getting together some products. We've been going over polluting the air, the water, and the ground. So I was getting a few products together for example, to use for examples. But we got time. We're gonna get to the Bible. You know, we always got time for the Bible. You know, we're gonna go to the Bible. Now we've been going over some issues. We've been talking about these man-made religious organizations. Now, there are some things that people say, like non-denominational and denominational. And when we talk about the Catholic, we were talking about the Catholic Church. We was like, okay, the Catholic Church started on this date. Well, what was it before? Because we just went over Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 and 19. He said, upon this rock I'm going to build my church. Now, before he said that, he was going around saying disciples, and we also know that he chose 12 of his 12 disciples to be his apostles. He chose 12 disciples. Out of all his disciples, he chose 12 of his disciples to be his apostles. He called them himself his apostles. We done been over this. Now, so what was it before the Catholic Church? Now, we heard some people say the first century church. I didn't say it. It wasn't me. Most likely, it was some people who referred to as scholars at these colleges and universities around the world. You know, they'll say something, and they said something like the first century church. Now, we know in the book of Acts, chapter 1, Jesus Christ had been crucified, and after being crucified, he was resurrected. And when he was resurrected, he was seen by his disciples. He was seen by his apostles. And then after being seen, he was received up. He was into a cloud. Now, let's go to this scripture, and we're gonna ponder on it. We're gonna think about this scripture. We're in the book of Acts, chapter 1. Okay. Let me start by reading that. I'm gonna start reading at verse number 12. Okay, the time won't permit. Okay, verse number 12. Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem, a Sabbath day's journey. And when they were come in, they went up into an upper room, where abode both Peter and James and John and Andrew, Philip and Thomas, Bartholomew and Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon Zelotes, and Judas the brother of James. These all continued with one accord in prayer and supplication with the women, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brethren. And in those days Peter stood up in the midst of the disciples and said, the number of names together were about 120. Now, let me add this. Let me make sure that we don't lose sight. That we don't. Now, let me. We still in chapter 1. And so we want to make sure in chapter 1 that we don't forget about the two men who were also disciples. So they was included in the number. But they was also, one was chosen to be an apostle. So let me see. Okay, I'm going to read at verse 21. Wherefore these men which have company with us all the time, that the Lord Jesus went in and out among us, beginning from the baptism of John, until that same day that he was taken up from us, must one be ordained to be a witness with us of his resurrection. And they appointed two, Joseph called Barsabbas, who was surnamed Justus, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, Thou Lord, which knoweth the hearts of all men, shew whether of these two thou hast chosen, that he may take part of this ministry and apostleship, from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. And they gave forth their lots, and the lot fell upon Matthias. And he was numbered with the 11 apostles. So we don't want to leave that out, because we want to make sure that we hear people saying denominational, non-denominational, first century church. So what you're saying is that, okay, we've established that the Catholic Church was started at a certain point, and that we agree, it's some type of agreement being made that prior to the Catholic Church, we reading the scriptures, and we reading that in Acts chapter 1. See, what I'm saying is that other people beside myself have read Acts chapter 1, and they can't get past Acts chapter 1. So when you talk about the Catholic Church, and you talk about the day that it started, and then you start talking about denominational, then you say the first century church. See, this is what you're talking about. You're talking about Jesus Christ walking around on the Sea of Galilee with his and saying, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Then he was able to gain support from all these people. They became his disciples. You understand? They became, just like we've been reading the Beatitudes, for example, and like 5,000, he fed like 5,000 people. You understand? Fed like 5,000 people who were supporting. But like we read Acts chapter 1, after Jesus Christ was crucified and died and buried and resurrected, the number of names, like we just read, like 120. Let me turn back. 120 people all together, total, about 120. So what we're saying is that that wasn't the Catholic Church. See, this is what you're saying. It's not just me read, but this is what the scholars are having to read the scripture, and it's being pointed out that there were these people, these 120, Peter and the apostles, Mary, the mother of Jesus. They were not the Catholic Church. They weren't the Eastern Orthodox Church, weren't the Church of Christ. So what they saying, this denomination, non-denomination, the first century church. But see, when you read the scripture, there's nothing in the scripture that says first century church. It just says church. That's what it said. It said church. That's all it said. It said church. Okay, let me speed it up here. Now, let's go over to Acts chapter 9. We know that Saul was supposedly converted by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Now, we want to make sure we don't leave the scripture. Acts chapter 9, verse number 7. And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. Now, let's turn over. Acts chapter 22, the lies that Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, he lied. Acts chapter 22, verse number 9. And they that were with me saw indeed the light and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. He lied. He lied. Saul from Tarsus, self-proclaimed apostle. He lied. Let's turn to Acts chapter 26, verses 13 and 14. At midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven, above the brightness of the sun, shine around about me, and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It's hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus whom thou persecutest. He lied. He is giving the impression that he's the only one who lied. Now he just said that all those who were with him, they fell to the earth because of the light. Then Jesus asked him a question, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou? And he answered back, Who art thou, Lord? He was not the only one who heard the voice of Jesus Christ. He was not the only one. He lied. He lied to King Agrippa. He lied to King Agrippa. Now let me also give a reminder that we've been talking about the oral tradition. Now we just, for example, we turn back to the Old Testament, to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and you read the first 3 scriptures. The oral tradition. Before Moses wrote the 5 books of Moses, before he wrote the 5 books of Moses, the oral tradition is what many people, even after he wrote the book of Moses, people were living by the oral tradition. Even today, people still live by the oral tradition. It was passed down from one generation to the next generation. Now, now let's turn back to Acts chapter 11 about this Christian stuff. Acts chapter 11, verse 26. And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that the whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people, and the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. See, pollute the air, pollute the water, the air, and the ground. Water. Okay, we just read Acts chapter 11. Okay, hold on. Now, Acts chapter 11, verse 26. Now, the main point we want to make is, who said called the disciples Christians in Antioch? Why? Now, Acts chapter 12. Now let me go over to Acts chapter 13 right quick. And verse number 13. Now when Paul and his company loosed from Paphos, they came to Perga in Pamphylia, and John, that's John whose surname was Mark, departing from them, returned to Jerusalem. John, whose surname was Mark, he went back to Jerusalem. It's very important. Now let's turn to Acts chapter 15, verse number 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved. Verse number 2. When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question. Now, we touched on this last week. Now, we know where Jerusalem is in Israel. And we talking about the biblical Antioch, the distance from to travel from Antioch to Jerusalem, and then from Jerusalem back to Antioch, the distance. They're gonna ask a question. They're asking a question, so they gotta go to the apostles and the elders about the doctrine, about the church doctrine. They got to leave Antioch and return to Jerusalem to go and talk with the apostles and the elders in Jerusalem about this question. And then after they get the answer to the question, they got to return from Jerusalem back to Antioch, the distance. Because we know that Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, was not abiding by the doctrine of the apostles. He was in Rome, Italy. It's too far. You're too far. You're not abiding by the doctrine of the apostles. You're not above the apostles. You're not even an apostle. Now, let's turn. Okay, we're going to ask him. Hold on. The book of Acts, chapter 15, verse number 2. Now let's turn to Acts chapter 15, verse 22. Verse 22, Acts chapter 15, verse 22. Then pleased the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. That was the end of it. That was the end of that Christian stuff. That was the end of it. So we know right then now that was the end of it. That was the end of the apostles, the elders, the whole church sent chosen men of their own coming back to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. That's the end of that Christian stuff. Now, the second place in the Bible that talks about being a Christian, Acts chapter 26. Verse 28. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, almost thou persuaded me to be a Christian. You already know that's a lie. That's a lie. After Acts chapter 15, verse 22, you already know that's a lie. Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed apostle, he lied. That's a lie. Now, the third place in the Bible is 1 Peter. chapter 4, verse 16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on his behalf. The Apostle Peter in Acts chapter 15, he gave you the answer. The Apostle Peter with the other apostles, they gave you the answer to that question about being a Christian. They answered your question. That was the end of it. That was the end. It's no such thing. There's no such thing being no Christian. No such thing. There's no such thing. It was a lie. It's a lie. And when Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, went to Rome, he went to Rome and lied to King Agrippa, as well as lied to the people in Rome, to the Latins. See, this is the reason why they had the problem. The disciples had a problem because the Romans turned against the disciples. That's what happened. The lies that Saul told to the people in Rome, the Latins, they turned against the disciples. Now, so the Apostle Peter did not tell anybody to be a Christian. He didn't tell you that. He knew there were people lying. Turn to 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 15, 16, 17. The Apostle Peter exposes Saul from Tarsus, the self-proclaimed, for writing all those epistles. He was lying. They all lies. All those epistles that Saul from Tarsus, self-proclaimed Apostle Paul, he wrote, they were all lies. And they now we continue to talk about hold on. Continue to talk about African traditional religion. As you know, African traditional religion being taught in institutions of higher learning, colleges and universities in sub-Saharan Africa. You can earn a bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD studying African traditional religion. Now, one of the books we're going to continue to read and refer to is titled West African Traditional Religion, written by Dr. Joseph Obasan Waleno, Dr. P. Adalumo Topengu. Another book we're going to continue to read and refer to is titled African Traditional Religion, definition written by Dr. E. Beloja Adobo. Another book we're going to continue to read and refer to is titled African Religions and Philosophy, written by Dr. John S. M. Beatty. Another book we're going to continue to read and refer to is titled Concepts of God in Africa, written by Dr. John S. M. Beatty. Now let me Now, the universities in Sub-Saharan, they teach African traditional religion. Now, for example, Dr. Joseph Obasan Waleno, senior lecturer, University of Ibadan in Nigeria. African traditional religion, the Department of Religious Studies. University of Ibadan in Ibadan, Nigeria. Now, Dr. P. Adenumo Dupemu, Ibadan, Nigeria. Wait a minute. Department of Religious Studies, the University of Ilorin in Ilorin, Nigeria, and PhD, Ibadan, Nigeria. Now, Dr. John S. M. Hold on. I forgot. Oh, we got Dr. Idowu. Wait a minute. Now, Dr. Idowu, Dr. E. Baloja Idowu, Professor of Religious Studies, the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. Hold on. Now, Now, as for Dr. John S. M. Beatty, as you know, Dr. M. Beatty was born in Kenya, and he studied at Makerere University College in Uganda. So, like I said, they teach African traditional religion in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, we've been talking about this gang point of view, and we know that the East Coast here in the United States of America being used as a gang base, and we know that they're making, we know that many other people on the East Coast, European Americans, African Americans, Hispanic, Latino Americans, living on the East Coast. They leave the East Coast, they go to places like Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California. This gang nonsense, and a lot of criminals. There's a lot of criminals who was involved in the East African, West African slave trade, because we know that's how many African Americans ended up here in the United States of America, while the European Americans came over here. Many who were criminals, many. There were a lot of criminals, a lot of male, female, a lot of criminals. A lot of criminals were involved in the East African, West African slave trade. Now, we said this, we've been saying this. I don't know my foreparents. I don't know my foreparents who were in sub-Saharan Africa. I don't know what the circumstances, the situation was. But it was, they ended up on a slave ship, supposedly on a slave ship, and ended up here in America. Now there was some slave ports in other states like state of Mississippi, Louisiana, the city of New Orleans, in the state of Louisiana, slave port. The state of Texas, city of Galveston, slave port. And Veracruz, Mexico is a slave port, because we know this thing about the slave issue here in America. You know, the East Coast, slave ships come to the East Coast. We know about Jamestown, Virginia, and the pirates that stole a ship and brought the first Africans who came from Angola, and were traded for, you know, whatever the pirates needed in Jamestown, Virginia. And from that point, because we know even we're talking about the East African, West African slave. The East African slave trading didn't stop because of West Africa. It was still going on. Because, you know, they also talk about when you talk about the East African slave trade, as you know, the Saharan slave trade as well. The slave trade in the East Africa didn't stop. It's like it expanded, you know, because more people got involved. That's what they call the West African slave trade. But the East African slave trade didn't stop. And so when it's pertaining to this gang point of view, you know, even today, a lot of people who are in Western Europe, you know, German, Latin, were involved in the slave trade. A lot of criminals. We're not going to generalize everybody. We just, you know, it was a lot of criminals who were involved in the slave trade. They were criminals. They were criminals. And so, you know, there's the reason why we were talking about the gang point of view, because we want to make sure we don't forget about wildlife, the environment, things in there, because the so-called, what they call the gang. For example, when we talk about the gang, what they call some criminals like Jesse and Frank James gang, the Dalton gang, the Apple Dumpling gang, Fat Albert and the gang, and then you have what they call the motorcycle gang, the Hells Angels motorcycle gang, and their rivals, the Mongrels. See, now the United States government had to get in contact with the German government about this gang. The German government told the United States anti-gang. That's where it comes from, anti-gang. That's where it's coming from, anti-gang. That's what the German government. The people in Germany speak German, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a week. That's not what the word gang means. All this street slang. That's all this stuff is, street slang. People be out there at the street level, just throwing slang words out. That's all this, street slang. Gang is German. Goon, that's English. That's German dialect. Boss, that's Dutch. That's another German dialect. The abbreviation mob for mobile, that's Latin. Thug, that's Indian. So when you know all this street slang, pimp, whore, Mac, player, you know, all this street slang, all that stuff that ain't no street slang. You know, we can sit here all day with this street slang stuff, because I know people all around the world, you know, they speak their own language, and when you get to the street level, it be all these different, you know, sometimes people call each other friend, you know, friendly term in your own country, you know, it's not something bad. There's, you know, being friends. And then sometimes in your own country, people have people they don't get along with. But it really at the street level, people say in their own country. And so, a lot of celebrity athletes, entertainers from the East Coast, we've been talking about how people from the United States of America, they go around, they go outside this country, tourism, business, sports, and sports entertainment, and music entertainment, movie entertainment. They go outside this country. The military, people working in the government as well as business. They lead the United States government. All that we've been talking about, the sorority and the fraternity, the gang, trying to go outside the United States of America, trying to spread this nonsense. And one of the organizations I want to make sure we ain't forget, I want to bring about the government, not just the United States military, but about the Foreign Service, but also the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps be going around outside the United States of America. And a lot of these college students are gang members. They're gang members. They're members of a gang. And they join the Peace Corps, and they go to other countries. And they interact with people in other countries. They belong to the sorority and the fraternity. They gang members. And they go around in these different government, like such as the Peace Corps and Foreign Service, and oh, that's right. I got these little products we were talking about: polluting the water, polluting the air, polluting the ground, and we want to make sure when we start protesting and demonstrating, anti-gang, we don't leave the wildlife organizations out. Because we know that the human rights people, all different kinds, all around the world, they know about these issues, the criminal issue, because that's what it is, a crime. It's the criminals. And then when you specifically identify the criminals, such as like drug pushers and drug dealers, the sex traffickers, you understand? You identify a specific crime and specific criminal. People who steal, for instance, people who steal artwork, people who steal what they call diamonds, jewel thieves. See, they don't sell drugs, but they spend all their time trying to break into a jewelry store. It's trying to find the most expensive diamonds and sapphires and emeralds and rubies, and that's what they spend their time, jewel thieves. But so you have that's the crime. But then you have the gang, and that's what that is. It's a gang of jewel thieves. It's a gang who steal paintings out of museums. It's a gang who be involved in sex trafficking. They don't steal artwork, but they be involved in sex trafficking. See what I'm talking about? See, they don't sell drugs, but they be involved in sex trafficking. That's their thing. Then you have a gang of criminals who be involved in illegal gambling. They don't do nothing else. All they do is set up some type of place where they can commit a crime. Illegal gambling. They got slot machines, roulette wheels, the blackjack table. Some place where they can have poker tables, pool tables, and they gamble illegally. So when it comes to the gang, again, that's who it is. It's a gang of criminals, but you're being specific who this gang is. So when we talk about the gang, when it comes to animals, again, it's some criminals. They be involved in killing, stealing ivory from the elephants, stealing the ivory from the rhinoceros, killing tigers for the fur, the leopards for the fur, the gorillas, the monkeys. The fur trade. We know about the fur trade and the issues with the fur trade around the world. And then we have to deal with the forest, the criminals that's trying to cut down all the trees for lumber, and all the excuses they make for the criminals make for cutting down the forest. And so and then it's so many issues. Like I said, what time it's gang. So now, like I say, it don't be no one individual doing anything. It's a gang of criminals, male and female, men and women. You understand? And they commit these crimes. Like we was talking about, we brought up the blue collar, white collar. We talking about the environment. I don't have no 18-wheel truck to show everybody, but just for example, the pollution, polluting the air, the water, and the ground, and also automobiles, the cars, the motorcycles. They pollute the air, and when you pollute the air, like we all have been taught, is when you pollute the air, the exhaust, it goes into the atmosphere. When it rains, it comes back down. That pollution, you pollute the air, so you can't breathe. That's what they call smog. In cities all around the world, they have a problem with smog, and it comes from the exhaust, from cars, motorcycles, and trucks, and also trains. See, you pollute the air, then it comes back down to the earth in rain and snow. The wind blow. So when you pollute the air, then the trees and the grass and all the vegetation, it gets destroyed. Then it comes down in rain. And when the rainwater is polluted, it goes into the ground. So then your drinking water becomes polluted. But also the vegetation, they have to have water. And then the water is polluted, so now your fruits and vegetables, they get polluted. But also the animals. Because of what we do, the animals suffer. The animals and the insects, the other life on this earth, they suffer. So this is how we've been taught by the environmentalists as well as the wildlife people. So when we protest and we demonstrate, we don't never leave the environmentalists and the wildlife people out. It ain't, the human rights. When we speak out about and we complain about the gang, when we be on our job, when we be out in the community, in public, when we be in our home, being influenced by Hollywood, the Fat Albert gang, the Amper Duncan gang. They call it throwing this gang out with the music, gangster rap music, by the music industry, music videos, trying to influence us to support the gang. And see, that's who the gang is. It's the people that's polluting the water, the air, and the ground. It's the sorority and the fraternity. The street criminal gangs. That's who it is. Now, I got a few products. Now, air freshener. Now, let me see here. Now, when you spray this in the air, in the past, the air freshener. Now, we're not trying to say anything about the company that produced it. We're talking about the issue, air pollution and water pollution and ground. We're not saying anything about the company or anything like that. But let me see here. Where is it? Okay, here it is. No CFCs, which destroy the ozone. In the past, they had, like air fresheners and things like this. They can Freon that you put in your air conditioner. The Freon that you put in your air conditioner. Like your home and your car. The Freon. It was destroying the ozone. That was the scientists. They did tests and they determined that the ozone layer up there in the atmosphere was being destroyed by the Freon that you use to cool your car and your home, and also the air fresheners. So now, for example, what the label says here, it says no CFCs. I'm going to take my glass home. Look right. Yeah. It says contains no CFC would deplete the ozone layer. So that's a good thing, but we know it was the criminals who were ignorant. We don't see criminals are ignorant. And you see, that's what the sign is. The criminals are ignorant. They do stuff, but, the only thing they worry about is trying to make $1, make some money. They don't think about health, or, they don't think about the ozone. They don't think about the whales out in the ocean. They don't think about nothing. All they think about is trying to make some money. That's all they care. People in the diamond industry, they don't care nothing about the workers or the environment. All they think about is digging a hole in the ground and trying to get as many diamonds out the ground as they can. They don't care how they get it. They don't care how many people die. Digging in the ground and being up underground and having health issues. They don't care nothing about that. They don't care about all these criminals care about is getting the raw materials, diamonds, gold, silver, copper, iron, whatever raw materials in the ground. They're gonna dig up under the ground and get it out. And by any means necessary, they don't care who suffer. The animals die, people die. In the end, I'm still gonna be alive, and I'm gonna be able to have a mansion with a swimming pool and a limousine, and I'm gonna live. They don't care about anything but making some money. That's it. Well, that's one example. Now we've been having a lot of problems with plastic bottles. Everybody know we've been having a lot of problems with plastic bottles. Air pollution, water pollution, ground pollution. Because first of all, when you manufacture these bottles in the factory, like we've been talking about the exhaust from the factories, the smog, when we manufacture plastic bottles, it's a lot of fumes that go up into the air to pollute the air. Then the rainwater comes down. But then once we produce these bottles, what do we do with the plastic bottles? We pollute the ground and the water. We throw the plastic bottles out on the ground. We throw them out there in the water, on the beach. We just, we don't properly dispose of the plastic bottles like we're supposed to. Recently, we've been trying to have a recycling program for plastic bottles, aluminum cans, glass, wood. Even wood sometimes gets recycled. Like pallets, wooden pallets. People have a recycling program that's being implemented in a lot of cities around the world. Recycling programs. But we know we've been having a lot of problems with plastic bottles. Now, we also been having a lot of problems with plastic bags. The plastic bags. Same thing. When you manufacture the plastic bag, when you make the bag, it's a lot of fumes. They go into the air. Manufacture. See, this is the thing about when we manufacture all these products, it's not just the 18-wheeler trucks and the cars and the motorcycles that produce exhaust. The factories, they produce a lot of exhaust, and it goes into the air, and it comes back down to rainwater, and it pollutes the water, the drinking water, the water that's being used for our fruits and vegetables, and then the animals, they suffer from the pollution. They suffer just like we suffer. The animals, they suffer just like we suffer. But we've been having a lot of problems with the plastic bags. Now, there's a paper towel. Now, this here paper towel, let me see, you see it, what they label it. Okay. Now this paper towel here, it says it's Rainforest Alliance certified. So they trying to do something about the problem of the rainforest. See that label? That means they trying to do something positive about the rainforest being cut down. Let's see here. Now the reason why I got this product here is when we talking about polluting the water. Now it's a little symbol on here. Okay, there it is. Now it's a little symbol. It says it's septic safe. And what they talking about is that when they produce these toilet tissue and paper towels, there were chemicals. There were chemicals in the toilet paper, in the paper towel. And when you put it in, like when you flush the toilet and when you throw stuff down the drain, it had chemicals. It had, the toilet tissue had chemicals in it. And so they had to take the chemicals out of the tissue, out the paper towels, because it's polluting the water. Polluting the water, polluting the air, polluting the ground. And so it was septic safe. And then that's another thing about being in your home or outside your home. You have a sewer. I was thinking about this yesterday. It came to my mind. I wanted to make mention. Okay, when you be in your home, just like I'm in a home, when it comes to pollution, you have a stove. Now a lot of homes have a gas stove. They use natural gas. Natural gas, as you know, it comes out the ground. But you also have an electric stove. And electric stoves supposedly be more environmentally safe because you use electricity instead of using gas. And but when you be in your home, you have a sink and you have a toilet, septic drain. Some people they'll take cooking grease and they'll pour the cooking grease. You understand? They'll pour the cooking grease down the sink, in the toilet. That's not where the cooking grease go. See, that's polluting the water, polluting the air, you polluting the ground. That's not where your cooking grease go. But I know, they don't have a proper way of disposing cooking grease. So that's what a lot of people do. They pour it down the sink, pour it down the toilet. And some people go outside their home and they'll pour it down the sewer. See, that's another thing about pollution. The air, the water, the ground, it's just sewer. It's a lot of pollution that goes down the sewer. People cut their grass, edge their lawn, and a lot of times the grass and the leaves, it ends up in the sewer. And you polluting the air, the water, and the ground by doing that. Because some people, they put fertilizer on their grass. See, think about it. Some people in your neighborhood, they fertilize their grass. Some people even, kill. They put what they call that stuff. They put chemicals to kill the weeds. They put weed killer on their grass. To kill the weeds. And then they'll cut the grass. They'll edge the lawn. And then that stuff ends up in the sewer. It ends up in the sewer. You polluting the air, the water, and the ground. Let me see here. Light bulbs. Light bulbs. Now, light bulbs, let me see here. Now these are some of them energy saving light bulbs. Yeah. These are the type of light bulbs that's produced to save to save the environment. That's what these light bulbs is. These are energy saving light bulbs. Okay. Now, the paper that I've been writing on, the paper that I've been writing on, okay, this is where it's coming from. Now, let me see what that little symbol is. Okay. It's got a little symbol on the package back here. You see that little symbol? They're trying to do something about the environment. But see, this is what we always know. The people in business didn't decide to do what's right. It took some people to go out there and protest. It took people to go out there and demonstrate. It took people to complain. It took people to speak out about our environment and about the wildlife, about sex trafficking, about drugs. People had to go out and, they had to go out, and it's going to be the same thing about this gang nonsense. People going to have to speak out and complain, and we're going to have to demonstrate, we have to protest. And it's not local, it's not regional, it's not even national, it's international, it's worldwide, it's global. Okay, now let's get ready to go to the dictionary. Now I got a few words here. Coercion, coerce, sexual coercion, psychological coercion, psychological manipulation, psychological abuse. Now, well, I'm getting ready to go to the dictionary. I just want to make sure I remind, I've been talking about my DNA, and so I know time won't permit me to go into my DNA, but on my previous video, and we talked about my DNA, which is important, and so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the dictionary right now. Now, as you know, the prefix and suffix root words, they in Webster's Third New International Dictionary as well as Oxford English Dictionary. Now, Webster's Third New International Dictionary, the complete definition and meaning of the word game, the act, manner, or means of going. this is mobile. Now this is mom. Now, the stupid sorority and their stupid fraternity. This is sister. Now this is brother. The Oxford English Dictionary. The complete definition and meaning of the word game. Action or mode of going, way, passage. Also, a set of things or persons. This is mobile and mob. This is the stupid sorority or the stupid fraternity. Now, while we was talking about pollution, let's don't forget the motor oil. While we were talking about polluting the air, the water, the ground, let's don't forget the motor oil, because, like I said, I was thinking about it. I used to change the oil. I don't change the oil no more because they make cars different today. You can't even work on cars today. But like I said, I used to change the oil, and you used to have to find a way to dispose of motor oil. Don't even ask. Don't even ask. You know, some people, they'll take the old motor oil, pour it back on the ground. They'll pour it down the sewer. You know. But usually what I used to do is I used to take it to the people that change oil and give it to them. When I used to change my own oil. So I used to, the filter. Now the filter, but like I say, you know, we had to stop polluting the water, stop polluting the ground, and stop polluting the air. Now these are a few websites you can go to make free logo website to make anti-gang logos. Now I'm going to get ready to end today's video. Again, my name is Eric D. Johnson. I also know BrightShine. Live right here in the city of Memphis. It's in the county sheriff in the state of Tennessee. And thank all my fans, my support, for your continued encouragement, support. And as you know, last Sunday was Easter Sunday. Hope everybody had a happy Easter. But we also, this week, here in the city of Memphis, as you know, April 4th, was the 50th, 2018 was the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here in the city of Memphis at the at the Lorraine Motel Hotel, which is now the National Civil Rights Museum. And they had this week had activities and things as they programs to commemorate the assassination. For us all to remember the sacrifice and the service that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through his example set for all of us. And always put God first and take care of yourself. And I wish each and every one of you the very best.